Welcome back to the Corner Pocket, home of the best handicapping breakdown videos in the game. I'm Auzzy Scooper, aka the Irish Assassin, coming at you with the fourth installment of the Wild Card Weekend breakdown videos. The New York Giants 8-3 against the spread in the last 11, going to Green Bay to take on the Packers. 5-1 against the spread in the last 6, blazing hot, rattled off 6 in a row to win the division. Aaron calls a shot with the run-the-table prediction and delivers the goods. Didn't mention anything about the playoffs. Now, here we got some familiarity and revenge. 2007 and 11, the two Super Bowl championship years for the Giants. They go into Lambeau on their way, beat them up 23-20 in 2007, 37-20 in 2011. Right now, stat of the week, Eli Manning, Aaron Rodgers tied with 2 victories in Lambeau Field for playoffs. That one's hard to understand, but Ben McAdoo, head coach of the New York Giants, spent 8 years in Green Bay, knows some tendencies of Aaron, knows different decisions they like to make. Very, very, very familiar with the organization. In this Week 5 game where the Green Bay Packers beat the Giants 23-16, no Eli Apple, no Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. The NYPD, the New York pass defense, wasn't really formed at the time. Confidence of the team wasn't the same. Green Bay was favored by 7.5 in that game. Eli missed a wide-open Willie tie down the seam late in the first quarter, early second. Just one of them games where the Giants were off. Took a backdoor ODB touchdown to cover the spread, but the Giants were not the same team at that time. The running game was completely non-existent, like 2.4 yards a carry in that game. Now, best defense in the NFL, best defense in the playoffs, number 4 against the pass, number 3 against the rush. Romeo Okwara coming in for JPP when he gets injured. The guy's been playing great. Coming off the edge, burst on the scene versus the Dallas Cowboys, showed what kind of guy he was, ready for the prime time. Spent $104 million in the offseason on these free agent defensive acquisitions. Olivier Vernon, Jonathan Casillas, Snacks Harrison, and these guys have paid off. Landon Collins, to go from 30th in the league in defense to 2nd, not an easy task. One of the biggest jumps in the history of the stat. And the New York Giants are in a position here to really give Aaron Rodgers some frustration that most teams aren't capable of doing. When he has that time moving around in the pocket, you must be very good in coverage. Jordy Nelson touched on it this week. Rare combination where you have elite corners and elite safeties on the same team. You just don't see that very often. Now, not only are they good from the 20 to the 20, when you get to inside the 20, they're number 1 in the league in red zone defense by a wide margin. Red zone defense is directly correlated to how good can you remain in coverage, and that's what the Giants excel at. If you're going to match up with Aaron Rodgers, you cannot let him have all day. If you're going to let him have all day, you're going to have to get into them windows, and that's what the Giants can do. Now, Green Bay, on the other hand, 28th in the league in red zone defense. If you're not going to be very good, you better learn how to bend but don't break. It's a mentality. It's a skill. The Packers do not possess that skill. Now, in that Week 5 game that Rodgers-Cromartie didn't play, this man, he has been big time. 6 interceptions on the season, 5 in the second half of games, 3 have sealed them. Now, late in this game, Giants with a little 3-point lead. Cromartie picks one off. Don't be shocked if he's the reason why they seal it. Now, this Green Bay team, you saw it when they were really falling off the cliff, playing Washington in prime time, playing against Tennessee where they give up 35 in the first half. This secondary is not good. Now, Quentin Rollins, second-round pick out of Miami of Ohio, he's not playing, out with a concussion. There's nobody in the league more talented than Odell Beckham. And when you got a guy like Sterling Shepard who just exudes confidence, big-time player, made some big plays at Oklahoma in his career, between the two of them, with this secondary, I think it's a complete mismatch. Now, a big thing of Dom Capers' 3-4 defense is he puts 2 safeties over the top. And that's going to be critical with a guy like Odell Beckham. You can't let him get beat deep. Now, part of doing that is that you have to be able to only have 7 in the box and stop the run. And typically with this Giant team struggling, first 8 weeks, 68.3 yards rushing per game. Teams were really exploiting the lack of a running game, setting them up in some 37s, 3rd and 8s like you saw tonight with the Detroit Lions. It's tough to convert those. Now, the last 8 games, New York Giants, 108.3 rushing yards per game. That Week 17 game that didn't matter against a Washington team, that's not great against the run, but still, for a confidence builder, young running back Paul Perkins, 21 attempts, 102 yards. Rookie out of UCLA, 5th rounder, runs a 4.5, 4.40, averaging 3.9 yards a carry. The guy's not super electric, but he's a very good back. Guy you can trust to make some plays. And now with a little bit of a running game, you got to bring up a safety in the box occasionally to stop the run, just to keep them honest. Now you get Sterling down the middle. You get Odell Beckham on a deep one. I think it's a real tough matchup for this Green Bay Packer defense. I think the Giants are going to see some success on offense that they haven't quite seen. And then once they get a lead, play some keep away from Aaron, because that's what the key to this game will be. Keep them off the field. Keep him out of rhythm. Lots of 3-and-outs. You saw it in the Washington game in primetime, where every time Aaron seemed to get on the field, it was just kind of thrown in the dirt on the outside. Blanket in. Josh Norman was on Jordy. You're going to see some similar things like that. Now, if there's one thing to be problematic over here for the New York Giants, it's against the tight end. 26th in the league. In Green Bay, they're a team that have struggled over the years because they've lacked talent at tight end. They went off in the offseason and got a really talented, big, fast guy named Jared Cook from the Rams. Wasn't being utilized there with the terrible quarterbacks, and he hasn't really been utilized that much this year because he couldn't stay healthy. Now, he is healthy. He's had some good games over the last 2 or 3. And the Giants, like I said, struggle against the tight end, but of the last 2 weeks of the season, against Jordan Reed and against Jason Witten, 2 guys in the division that have killed them over the years, played very well against them. Neither of them really did much, and that's some momentum that maybe they're figuring some things out. But if Aaron comes out and he's hitting Cooks and Cobb's back in the mix, and it just looks like this NYPD secondary is just getting torn up by Aaron, don't be completely shocked. But the confidence meter is not quite up what it is with the Pittsburgh game. Pittsburgh's a 10. This one's more of a New York Giant money line's about a 5 as far as the spread, 6.5, 7. Like to see a little bit more with the line here coming up here tomorrow on game day. So if you contact me for the VIP services, I can let you know a little bit more confidence closer to game time. See if it closes at 4, 4.5. Maybe it goes up to 6. Who knows? Now, Aaron, throughout this 6-game run-the-table run, yards per attempt from 8.3, from 6.53 up to 8.3. Down the field, putting more pressure on these defenses. Completion percentage is up by 6.3%. Now, a big part of this run has been the defense, creating 13 turnovers in the last 4 games. Now, turnovers, some like to argue that it's variance, it's just luck, it's part of the game. And others say it's a skill. I'm kind of in between on it. But if you get 13 turnovers in 4 games, that's not something that you can really expect to maintain. Now, Eli Manning, clearly known for turning the ball over. But really, if you look at it over these years, he kind of gets a little bit smarter in the playoffs. Only 1 turnover in his last 4 playoff games. If he maintains that, takes care of the ball, Odell keeps his head in the game. Against this secondary, it's a complete mismatch. The Giants get to 21. I think it's a low-scoring game. Both teams are going to really try to run the ball because of how good this New York Giants secondary is. They're going to try to get Ty Montgomery involved. Also, Ty Montgomery, wide receiver playing running back. As far as ball security, he's never fumbled. Playing in the cold, he did have some success in Chicago playing in the cold. But here in the first playoff game, if one of these Giant defenders is able to get one loose, it's a learning lesson and something that he hasn't learned from yet. So don't be shocked if that could be a game changer. And the New York Giants pull off the upset 21-17. Scoop-a-doop, doing what I do.